Hi, everybody. So I was just talking to some patients and friends of mine about electronics and kids, and we were having a discussion on some of the video games that are out there and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate for our sort of preteen teenage kids. That sort of brought me to talk more globally about electronics and time and cell phones and basically the more global electronic use in kids, because it's a really tough topic to sort of make your media plan use with your children as parents, because it's, you and your husband, you and your ex, you as a single parent, making these decisions is hard. There's a lot of pressure from outside people, outside children, on your children, the world, on what to do about this. So, I don't know that there's a perfect answer to this, because while there are a lot of great recommendations, there's also real world living. I did follow the recommendations to a T with my first kid. I didn't let him have any electronics until he was 2, and I was super proud of myself for that. And then I had a second kid, and everything, changed. I was desperate to take a shower, to go to the bathroom, and, that iPad, Mickey Mouse Club, Disney Channel was necessary to get anything done for just a few minutes. And so I started to get it. I mean, I couldn't be so stringent anymore. And so I feel like we have to be understanding, and we need to set limits. We can't let children sit in front of the TV all day long. It increases obesity. Their language drops off, and we have issues with their ability to interact socially if they're spending too much time in front of electronics. They also have trouble sleeping. And this is a huge problem if they get electronics in their bedroom. Outside of that, we start to deal with the video game situation and what is appropriate for children at what age on video games. I know all of you know that there are ratings for video games, and you can read what each rating means in Common Sense Media. And this is what I was talking about with friends, and what the effects of these first shooter games are considered more violent and video violent. And does that turn into aggression for children? What is the long-term effects of that? What are the short-term effects of that? And this has been studied for a long time, both in just TV violence as well as video violence. And it is suggested, although there will never be a study where they're going to take somebody exposed to video violence and then see if they're going to become or expose them to real world violence, because you're not going to force somebody to participate in real world violence. It's not ethical. So, but they have found through observation that those who experience more electronic and video violence, that they are more aggressive. They're more prone to aggressive behavior. That doesn't mean that every single child who has ever played a violent game is going to be aggressive. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the overall result is that they tend to be more aggressive if they're exposed to it more. And it's not appropriate for children to be playing first shooter games. Obviously, there are plenty of other games. My kids play video games, and so there has to be a little give and take there. I mean, this is a way that they do socialize, and I think we have to be very careful as parents about how they're socializing on these video games, controlling how they're friending people, and just knowing that they're friending people because I know many patients who have friended adults and have had their money scammed, like, their V-Bucks or whatever. And it turned out it was an adult, a scammer, whatever. So you really need to be careful. Make sure your kid's system is locked down, because the world's not a good place. I've had to give a little on this. I'm not a video game fan, but I do know that this is what kids are into, and so I have given into this concept to let my kids be a part of it, knowing that this is how they interact with people. But I still want them to be in human to human interaction, because I don't want them to be awkward when they're walking into a room being able to talk to a person directly. And the same goes with cell phone usage. We have to be cognizant of the fact that kids interact through cell phones a lot these days. That doesn't mean we should let them have access at a very young age. And when they do get access, that we need to be on top of what they're using, what apps they're using, and that how these apps work, right? Especially our social media apps, things like Snapchat, Instagram, because one, you can easily get bullied on these apps. Snapchat, things disappear. You can't read them. You can't go back and see what somebody's written about your kid. So that's one that it's used very frequently, and it has me worried all the time that us adults can't see what's been written after it disappears. And so just be cognizant about what you feel as a parent is the appropriate age to introduce that. Like, maybe you start with text and just say you have access to texting, you have access to FaceTime. And then as you feel that they have used that in a proper manner, then you can, add Instagram or something like that, and slowly build the trust, and always be friends with your children on their social media platforms so that you can follow what they're doing. Okay. Yes, they can block you. Yes, they can try to get around it. But if they do, then you take away the access. It's just the best way to keep an eye on what's happening and to keep your child safe. I made my two oldest, my little ones aren't ready for it, watch an internet safety course just to make sure they know that there are creepy people on the internet. And because they think they live in a bubble world, and that's partly because we've created that for them, to keep them safe. But I want them to make sure that they know that there are a lot of unsafe people out there who might want to take advantage of them. And so the internet is a scary place, and I wanted them to understand what that might look like, whether that's on the PlayStation or on their iPad. Now that my teenager is old enough, who has a phone, what it could look like in any of those electronic places. I am very against having electronics in the bedroom because I have so many children with sleep issues, and not just my children, but my patients. And I think electronics is one of the biggest culprits that creates sleep problems in general. We are on electronics, we are looking at our phones, TVs are on in the background, and it just creates such an interruption of our sleep hygiene. We really need to be turning off our electronics at least an hour before bedtime to let our melatonin secrete properly and to decrease that blue light on our eyes. I know children need their computers and things for school, but if we could try to turn that off at least an hour before bedtime, it would really help our kids and us as adults get to sleep better. Like, let's not use our phone and scroll right before we go to sleep when we might sleep better. And for kids, sleep is everything. They're going to concentrate better in school if they've gotten a good night's sleep. I mean, it just makes a world of difference in how they learn if they sleep well. So, I'm not here to tell you what age your child should have a cell phone. You're the parent. I'm not here to tell you how many hours. There are guidelines on this, and you can look them up. But know what the risks of too much electronics are. Know what the risks of the violent video games and violent movies and TVs, and know what the risks of social media are. You're the parent. You need to make the decisions. I have to make these same decisions. I'm happy to tell you what my husband and I have decided, but to each parent their own, right? You have to do the decisions too. It's just a hard thing to navigate in this society because things are changing very quickly, and we have to be cognizant of each and every step that we take with our children on this, and to be honest with them about why we're making these decisions, okay? So any questions you have, reach out. I'll do my best to help you. And have a great Tuesday.